Howdy everyone, welcome back to my channel. Happy July. It is so weird to be saying July. I could have sworn it was February like 2 weeks ago. And so like every other booktuber right now, I'm going to participate in the mid-year freakout tag where I'm going to talk about what my reading's been like in these first 6 months of 2025. Reading stats and challenge check-in. And so I'll start off with the challenge check-in piece first. I am not doing a reading challenge this year. My challenge was to just read more nonfiction, and then read more of my TBR. My physical TBR, that is, and so I don't really have like a set goal number. I'm just going for vibes and being more intentional with my reading. As for reading stats wise, as of June 21st, 2025, I had read 29 books, which is 6,057 pages, and 74.35 hours. My average time to finish a book is 6 days. My top 3 moods are reflective, emotional, and informative. My pace, 89% of the books I've read are medium and 11% of them are fast. I have read 72% fiction and 28% nonfiction. When it comes to the different formats I've read, 38% of them were digital, 31% of them were print, and then 31% of them are audio. And my most read authors, by the way, this is all according to Storygraph. Follow me on Storygraph. I have read 2 Percival Everett books, 2 books by Kianga Yamada Taylor, 2 books by Edwidge Dantica, and 2 books by Daniel Black. And so that's the rundown. Doing pretty good so far, so good. And so next question. My best book of 2025 so far, without a doubt, is ERASURE by Percival Everett. Now, I don't think it's a coincidence that I was published in 2001 and me being a 2001 baby. Like, we're just locked in like that. And I will say this is the book, like I mentioned at the time when I had wrapped up the book, is that this is the book that really got me to understand who Percival Everett is as an author. This is a book that made him be on my top authors of all time list. And so in Erasure, we're introduced to this Black author who is having a hard time selling copies, and it's because, according to his publisher, he writes things that are just not really graspable for the general public, and it isn't until that he writes a very shocking story under a pseudonym that he really starts to take off. And this book was adapted into a movie called American Fiction. I had watched that as well. And it's a really good satire about race relations in America and what it takes for authors, especially authors of a marginalized identity, to be seen and to be noticed. And yeah, it was a great story overall. Like I said, this was really what got me to wake up and see the talent that Percival ever has. Not that James didn't, but it was especially clear to me in Erasure. Question number 3. Best sequel. For me, it would have to be Isaac's Song by Daniel Black. I had the honor of reading Isaac's Song as an e-arc ahead of its release date. Thank you to the publisher for sending it over to me via NetGalley. And in Isaac's Song, we are following a gay black man come to terms with his father's passing. Now, Isaac and his father didn't really have the greatest of relationship while his father was still alive, and so his therapist tasks him with writing these letters where he's really unpacking the different moments he had with his father and how that affected him and as he grew into his own personhood. And not gonna lie, this is a book that had me crying on the metro. It was just so beautifully written, so painful, and this book is a sequel, hence best sequel title for the reading tag, with Don't Cry for Me being the prequel, and Don't Cry for Me is actually told from the perspective of Isaac's father. And so I'd actually read them out of order. I put in air quotes because reading them out of order didn't really mess with my understanding of their dynamic, but Don't Cry for Me did come out before Isaac's Song, and both are great books. Question number 4. New releases I want to read. So this one I sort of approached it as, what are the books that I currently have on my TBR on Storygraph that were published in 2025, because I don't really follow book publishers enough to know exactly what's coming out and when. So at first I have Bibliophobia by Sarah Chihaya, and this is a book where the author is going through her life and talking about the different books that essentially wrecked her emotionally, but also led her to make discoveries about herself and really change her as a human being. It is a book that I've heard quite a lot of things about on the booktube space, especially, that I'm really looking forward to, but it is also a book that I'm sort of putting off because I know I'm going to be like, okay, this isn't funny right now, like what's going on, in a good way, because it's going to change me as well. And in my mind, I feel like it sits at the table with, let's see, We're Alone by Edwidge Dantica, a book I really enjoyed this year, as well as Gather Me by Gloria Edom that I enjoyed last year. Just the table of books about books that changed the authors for the better. And I should preface that while this is an advanced reader's edition, I did not receive this as an art from the publisher. I actually bought this at a used bookstore a few months ago, even though it says not for sale. But hey, I got it for sale somehow. And as for the other new releases I want to read in 2025, I don't have physical copies of them, so I'm just going to read off excerpts of them that I found online. And so the next book I have is Alligator Tears, a memoir and essays by Edgar Gomez. And according to Books Are Magic, the book is about Alligator Tears is a fiercely defiant memoir and essays charting Gomez's quest to claw his family out of poverty by any means necessary and exposing the archetype of the humble poor version of what it is, for what it is. A scam that insists that we remain quiet and servile while we wait for a prize that will always be out of reach. For chasing the American dream and those jaded by it, Gomez's unforgettable story is a testament to finding love, purpose, and community on your own terms, smiling with all your fake teeth. And so I had learned of this book after a mutual of mine on my Bookstagram had posted a very beautiful review of it, and it was just an immediate add to my TBR, and so I'm looking forward to reading that in the coming months. The next new release I want to read is Prose to the People by Katie Mitchell, and according to Mahogany Books, it is a stunning visual homage to Black bookstores featuring a selection of shops around the country alongside essays that celebrate the history, community, activism, and culture these spaces embody, with an original foreword by Nikki Giovanni. Now, with me being somebody who very much loves indie bookstores, this book being on Black indie bookstores is really up my alley. I am so excited to get my hands on it eventually, and I'm especially interested in it because we all know that reading is political, but I never really came to know how indie bookstores came to be, especially Black indie bookstores, and so this will be a very interesting learning moment for me as well. And the last new release I want to read is called To Have and to Have More by Senibo, and according to its little promotion page on NetGalley, it's about told through the eyes of a Korean girl adopted into a wealthy white family. This darkly funny debut explores casual racism, privilege, and the complexities of friendship. And so skimming a little bit more at the summary, this takes place at a school where teenagers attend, and like the synopsis suggests, there's going to be a lot of conversations around racism, privilege, and it's also tagged as being a satire book, and I do love a good satire here and there, so I'm very much looking forward to this one as well. Question number 5 of this tag is biggest disappointment. Now, it is not often that I come across books that don't hit the mark for me. I've actually stopped rating my books star-wise because more times than not, I would just give a book a 5 star because what can I say? I don't read bad books. I don't read books I don't like. However, there was one book in this first part of the year that really just didn't evoke the best of feelings for me, which it was really unfortunate because I really wanted to like this book. Everybody else was liking the book. And that is This Could Be Us by Kennedy Ryan. I know, I know. And so in this book, it's a continuation of the Skyland series that Kennedy Ryan is building out. She started off with Before I Let Go, where we were following Yasmin? Jasmine? Yasmin? Yasmin's, I think, experience. And so in This Could Be Us, we're following Soledad's experience, who, might I say, had one heck of a time. She had found out that her husband was cheating on her, had her husband is also arrested from stealing funds from his company, leaving her and her 3 daughters without money. They were at risk of losing their home, and it was up to Soledad to essentially fix everything for the sake of her life and her daughter's life. In the process, she embarks on a self-love journey, and then she finds herself in a bit of a romantic attraction with Judah. Judah being the guy who tipped off that her ex-husband was stealing funds from the company because they were employees. AKA, he's the reason that Soledad's life was flipped upside down. And really what I didn't like about the book was the fact that Soledad was on her self-love journey, but that she also just kept pivoting off course, which is fine. Like, she's free to do what she wants, but it's the fact that her intentions in pursuing Judah were very different from the intentions Judah had in pursuing her. And so it was just a lot of back and forth. And I was really thinking about this from like a realistic point of view. Like, you two are both adults, you both have children of your own, and it's just not good that you guys are sneaking around back and forth as if what you're doing has no consequences. And I ended up DNFing it at like 70 something percent because I just couldn't with the back and forth anymore. Like, that subplot really bothered me. Like, other than that, the book was really nice. I was reading, really enjoying it, but it was just like that subplot that while it wasn't the overall premise of the story, it was still significant enough so where I was like, every time a chapter about the two of them engaging in something romantic, I was like, can we move on? And yeah, sorry. I wish I liked it more, but I didn't. And that's okay. Next question. Biggest surprise, and I'd have to award that to Martyr by Kaveh Akbar. I had talked about this book a little bit in my May reading wrap-up. I had to remember which month. It was May, but I'm just going to read the synopsis one more time for anyone who may not have seen the reading wrap-up yet. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Cyrus Shams is a young man grappling with an inheritance of violence and loss. His mother's plane was shot down over the skies of the Persian Gulf in a senseless accident, and his father's life in America was circumscribed by his work killing chickens at a factory farm in the Midwest. Cyrus is a drunken addict and a poet whose obsession with martyrs leads him to examine the mysteries of his past. Toward an uncle who rode the Iranian battlefields dressed as the angel of death to inspire and comfort the dying, and towards his mother through a painting discovered in a Brooklyn art gallery that suggests you may not have been who or what she seemed. Kaveh Akbar's Martyr is a paean to how we spend our lives seeking meaning in faith, art, ourselves, and in others. And so in reading the synopsis again, it low-key speaks to why I gave this book the title of Biggest Surprise for this tag, specifically the part and toward his mother through a painting discovered in a Brooklyn art gallery that suggests she may not have been or who or what she seemed. I was going through this book as one does. My mind was slowly but surely being altered by it with every single page because it's a lot. It's a heavy book. It took me a while to get through. And it wasn't until the 60 to 70% mark where things really took a turn. One that I low-key saw coming, but still to see it in that moment, I was like, oh my goodness. And by the time I closed the book, I was in disbelief. Like I've yet to sit down and actually put my thoughts to paper on how I feel about it because it was just so unexpected and painfully good. Next question, new favorite author. I actually have two favorite authors after this first 6 months of the year of reading, and that is Kaveh Akbar, Martyr, and I'm very curious to see like what else comes in their writing career. And my second new favorite author is Daniel Black after reading both Isaac Song and Don't Cry for Me. I don't know if Daniel Black has any other books out there, but if there are, I will track them down eventually. Question number 8, book that made you cry. And so I have two books to award this to. Number one being Isaac Song by Daniel Black, because like I mentioned, grief, loss, coming into yourself, trying to make amends when you don't have much control in how you do so. And the second book is Let This Radicalize You by Kelly Hayes and Miriam Kaba. So, Let This Radicalize You by Kelly Hayes and Miriam Kaba is a how-to guide to organizing as well as activism with anecdotes from organizers to support it. And the overall central theme that I was getting from this is that it's important to not become numb to the world's hardships and injustices, and that we need each other to survive. And this was a book that I had read for the Freedom Readers Book Club. It was my very first read since joining the club, and it was really easy for me to understand what Hayes and Cabo were putting down on the paper as somebody who's spent time in the activism and organizing space, but I wouldn't say that you need to be in that organizing and activism space to really understand what was being put out there. And you may be wondering, Delonda, how could a book like that make you cry? Well, there was a passage towards the end of the book, it was probably like the conclusion, that says, I hope this book finds you in a better time than what it is being written under. And that really just struck me in the chest. I had read this book around the inauguration and was very much feeling the feelings of anxiety and fear, and it really just helped put some hope back into me, hope that I'm really going to need to hold on to in these next 4 years and the generations to come as we as a country feel the policies that are going to come out of this administration. Book number 9, book that made you happy, and I award that to Not Again by Quana Jackson. And it goes. I'm actually going to read the first paragraph because this is kind of long for me to do at once. Hoping to attract more customers to his family's knitting shop, Lucas Strong participated in a FDNY charity calendar and accidentally became a local celebrity. The only place he can find solace is Scrubs, a 24/7 laundromat where he can disappear for a couple of hours. But Lucas's soapy sanctuary is shaken by an inquisitive little girl with a late-night interest in knitting, whose mother is his old-school crush. Now, this book is a sequel to Real Men Knit, a book that I've thoroughly enjoyed reading last summer. I had received this as a Secret Santa gift at my job back in December, and say that this book earns a title of a book that made me happy because at the time I was really feeling the state of the world and I just wanted something that would bring me joy, and this very much accomplished that. Question number 10. Most beautiful book you've purchased this year? I would have to say it's The In-Between Bookstore by Edward Underhill. I'm gonna see if I can find the synopsis for this. I'm gonna read just the shorter blurb, and it's a whimsical and healing novel about a trans man in New York who, almost 30, laid off, broke, moves back to his small Illinois hometown, walks into the bookstore he worked in high school, and slips through time to come face to face with his pre-transition teenage self. Now, I know this question we're really supposed to be focusing on the cover. I do also want to say that not only is the cover beautiful, I found the story overall to be quite beautiful. I really liked the way the author talked about friendship and self-love, growth and discovery, community, and as somebody who very much doesn't have the best feelings towards her hometown and just like her experiences growing up in said hometown, this book just made me feel This book made me feel validated in those experiences. Number 11, books I must read before the end of the year. Honestly, my physical TBR. Like, we gotta get through those books. I currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. Plus one in my, oh no, 22, one in the bag, 23. A whopping 23 books on my physical TBR. Now, I know that number could be so much higher than what it is, and so I'm really trying to not be too hard on myself about it, but it's still very high. And I just recently redid my bookshelf to where all the red books are on the top shelf and they're flipped over, so that way I can't see the covers, because that's my thing. Every time I finish a book, I'm going to turn the cover around. And then all the unread books are on the second shelf with all the covers facing out to really remind me like, hey, you have books to read. Let's get on it. And then don't get me started on my Kindle TBR. That's a whole separate thing that I'm just going to keep putting off until I absolutely have to address it. And the final question to the mid-year freakout tag is favorite booktube community members. Now this was very hard because I watch a lot of booktube and I was going through my subscription lists and going through and I have a total of 10 names. So I'm just going to see their name as well as their @ on booktube, and then I might link it in the comments, or I might put a screenshot of their channel, or maybe I'll do both. We'll see what future me is feeling. And so in no particular order, I'm going to start with number 1, Ivana from Ivana in the City. Number 2, Karen from Karen Chronicles. Number 3, Kat from Litwick Cat. Number 4, Kate Lee, or Kate Lee 3. Number 5, Molly of Back to Reads. Number 6, Nina of Nina Reads More. Number 7, Shay of Shade the Reader. Number 8, Tana of Tana's Book Diary. Number 9, Wale of the Hot Girl Books. And last but certainly not least, Zahra of Zahra is Reading. Alright, so that concludes my take on the mid-year freakout tag. It was very fun to go back through my storygraph and take a look at what I've read and reflect. And just in thinking about my reading habits in these 6 months overall, I'm really proud of what I've been up to in these first 6 months. I'm reading much more than I did last year, which is always a plus. I'm especially reading more nonfiction than I was last year, which is great and wonderful. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the next 6 months have to bring for me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye!